So on this drill, what we're doing is trying to build durability with that inverted drag. Now this is super advanced. I wouldn't want you guys to start here. There's several layers that we would have to add on day after day until you get to this point. But regardless of your level, this is a concept that you have to understand. You guys have seen a lot of posts in the past about mechanics of deceleration. And a lot of what we focus on is inside foot off of V, super easy. We could get your grandma probably to do that in 2 days because it's naturally a toe in position. If I'm coming this way, I barely have to internally rotate at the hip to get a good position if I'm stepping back this way. And then the other thing we've talked about a lot is the outside foot stop, which is 2, 3, 4 times harder because I'm coming around this way. So normally people get a straight forward decel and all that goes to the knee. I can't get into that lateral aspect of the hip, lateral aspect of the leg where I'm nice and strong. Now that doesn't mean that outside foot stops are bad. We build durability in that position. And athletes who do have the internal rotation hip mobility are still able to get a toe in position even on outside foot stops. It's just not going to be as much of a toe in position, okay? So ranking from easiest to hardest, we got our inside V, then we have our outside foot stop, okay? I can get the internal rotation, I can get the toe in position, I can get into the lateral structure of the hip and the strong side of the leg. Now, the harder version of decels, and these are more popular than ever, is this inverted drag where I'm getting here and I'm changing directions off this inside leg, right? So naturally, if I'm off a crossover step, my toe would be pointed forward to get forward. The problem is when we decel off that, it makes it really hard to decelerate and change directions off that position. It's possible, you'll probably find yourself in this position at some point. So I'm not saying never train it, but the safest mechanics to use on an inverted drag would be to get the toe relatively straight forward, right? I'm not gonna be able to actually internally rotate. That would be a really dangerous position to then try to change directions off of that. But if you see super dynamic players like Allen Iverson, they're usually taking a pretty long stride and they're planting toes forward to drag back and change directions. This isn't just basketball specific. Receivers are using similar footwork where they're expected to make cuts off the inside foot. And so this concept goes for a lot of different sports. Now, I'm actually adding load to that because I've been working on stuff like this for a while. Now, I wouldn't want you to add any load. I would want you just to work on simply going through the motions, right? Build it at slow speeds, build the structure, build the skill. Injury prevention is more of a skill than it is just like pure strength. Now, I'm still a big believer in strength training because we can build a good structure and I can build bigger, stronger bones and connective tissues, right? And I think that can go a long way for preventing contact injuries and falls, you know, contact from the floor, contact from players. I fractured my shooting wrist twice, my left wrist once, I fractured this hand, or maybe I had a full break, I had to have surgery on this hand. And all of them were contact injuries, getting pushed and running into a wall, getting undercut and falling. This one, I actually had to hit somebody who broke into my house, but that's a whole different story. Anyways, you could build stronger bones through lifting. So don't think that when I say injury prevention is a skill, it doesn't mean that strength training isn't still important, but preventing non-contact injuries, a lot of it is what mechanics am I landing with? There's a breathing aspect. Just like if you were to get under a bar, you wouldn't have like this slow, relaxed breath as you go down. You would collapse. You don't have the intra-abdominal pressure. If you listen to this drill, when I'm going to hit highest peak braking force, and that's where the injuries are happening, highest peak braking force, you can see that right before ground contact, I'm actually holding my breath, and then at ground contact, I'm breathing out, small space through my mouth and get that air out. And that's where the core stability actually comes from. So if you don't have that intra-abdominal pressure, you don't have stability all the way down the chain. And so people talk about doing like core bracing exercise, cool, but that doesn't have as much carryover as timing of breath and proper breathing mechanics on stuff like this. It's sensitive down to the millisecond, so this isn't something where you could consciously learn, oh, Paul says when I do an inverted drag, I gotta breathe at the right time. The only way that you're gonna build it is repping it. The problem is on something like an inverted drag, how many did you get today in practice? 0. How many did you get in skills training? Well, maybe if you're specifically working on this, 5, maybe 10. So I'd say 90% of basketball players aren't getting enough reps on stuff like this to build the skill aspect, right? And when I say skill, I'm talking about the breath, the contract, relax, the positioning of the foot. All of that is a skill. And how do we build a skill? Well, you don't do it through 2 sets of 4. You do it through cyclical actions where I can really accumulate a lot of reps. In the speed code, we do a drill where it's unresisted, it's barefoot, so we can build the feet and the ankles, and we just kind of introduce people to this position and just do it slow and accumulate a lot of reps, right? A river cuts through rock, not because of the power, but because of the persistence. And so sub-max, higher duration type of stuff is really good for building the structure and also teaching the nervous system the skill of injury prevention. After I posted the last one with the med ball, I think I was doing more change of direction stuff. A bunch of people tagged me in like 3 or 4 pages that are doing really good stuff that's pretty similar. I'll tag them below, and they're doing this more so I think at kind of slow speeds just to build the proper position and sort of cement these positions in the nervous system. Then once they're cemented in the nervous system, now you start adding a little bit of speed. And then eventually you might get to the level where I'm not only adding speed, but I'm using momentum. I'm taking a 6-pound ball and I'm using momentum with the long lever to take my body this way. And now I gotta actually decelerate, put on the brakes even harder. So not saying you guys need this, but I just wanna teach you the concept of injury prevention is a skill. It's not just strength. And also get you guys to understand that we got to build it sort of at slow speeds, cement it in the nervous system, build the proper mobility and all that good stuff, then add speed later on.